Last on Everdark, Caemorn is ordered by his master Artemis Eleusius to kidnap Julian and bring him to the Everdark city of Lasting, the Calli stronghold. Caemorn, however, considers this suicide. He does not see how he can accomplish this, even with the promise of shielding spells. Caemorn also wonders why Artemis won't go himself if this is so important and necessary for their security against Daemon. But Artemis insists that Caemorn be the one to do this, or it will be the last thing that Caemorn does not do. Now we turn back to Julian and Daemon. Everdark, Episode 58. Good evening. The next section of the podcast has been edited out to keep it suitable for a general audience. To get the full version, either subscribe to Wraith Rain as a member or buy the audiobook from the Wraith Rain shop. You are my treasure, Julian.
I wish...
What?
That my parents were here. To meet you. To see all this.
Julian confessed, surprised at the sudden urge to see his mother. He and Daemon had just made love, and yet he wanted to get up and go tell her everything he'd learned. Instead, the Thorns were there, and they were not happy about any of this. He wanted the Thorns to be happy about this too, but that just made him want his parents back more keenly than ever, because they would love Daemon, Balthazar, and Arceus, and Sophia, and everyone else without question. They would have had millions of questions for the vampires too. He could very well imagine his mother perched on the edge of the bed, watching them sleep, waiting for them to wake up so that she could talk to Daemon for hours and hours and days and months and years and decades about all he knew. Not even Daemon would have been able to resist her tenaciousness. His father would have been out interviewing all the other members of House Ravenscroft, or deep in conversation with Arceus. His gaze slid to the edge of the bed, and for a moment, he actually did think he saw his mother sitting on the edge of the bed, smiling at him. He turned his head further, and the impression remained for half a second before he saw that there was no one there. He imagined, though, that the bed looked like someone's weight had been removed. Perhaps he had the power of the Calli bloodline too, and he really had seen his mother there. He knew so little about what all the powers could do. Could one speak to the long dead? Christian could. Maybe he could too. One of Daemon's hands tightened in his hair, and the Vampire King asked, "What is wrong?" Julian wondered if Daemon had felt distress in his mind, or if the slight stiffening of his body had alerted the Vampire King that all was not well with him.
I thought I saw my mom on the bed. Crazy.
Julian explained. Not crazy. It could very well be. Daemon murmured. Julian blinked sudden tears away. Where was this coming from? But he knew, in this moment of utter happiness, he wished he could share it with his parents.
She would have loved you, Daemon.
I believe I would have felt the same, Daemon murmured. I wish I could bring them back to you.
I love the Thorns. Don't get me wrong. My parents...
Julian swallowed, as if it were a sudden lump in his throat.
Like I said, they would have loved this. They would have wanted to become vampires themselves.
Daemon nodded against the pillow. There was a faint rustling sound as his cheek moved against the cotton. Such adventurous spirits would have been eager to explore eternity, I'm sure.
So why were they killed? Was it just because they found your city? I don't understand why Caemorn couldn't have just taken their memories and left them alone.
Julian said, his voice deepening with emotion.
I've seen what Balthazar is able to do. What you are able to do. Why couldn't...
Daemon put a finger against Julian's lips. You speak of what immortals can do. Yes, there are powerful vampires, but no one nearly as good as Balthazar in terms of erasing minds and filling them with proper memories. Your parents had strong wills. No one but an absolute master of the craft like Balthazar could have replaced their memories convincingly enough. In truth, they would have been driven mad by what they likely would have felt were alien memories. Julian stiffened. For a moment he imagined his parents wandering their home, looking for something that they had lost but could not remember. He could envision them with unbrushed hair and unkempt bodies. Their eyes would be too wide and too large in gaunt faces, as they would have forgotten to eat in their search for what was missing. He swallowed. Yes, Julian, it would have been something like that. I do not want to say that death is better, but they would have been broken by this, Daemon explained. Julian tended to agree with that, but still he felt a deep rage about their loss. Now that he knew the truth about vampires, he realized far more deeply that his parents' quest to find them had been a worthy one. All their lives they had been looking for the mystical and monstrous. Vampires were both of those things. They would have had proof that one of the things that they had searched for was true, that the world was so much more than people believed it was, and that was what his parents had always wanted to impart to people: a sense of wonder, a sense of mystery, a sense of enlightenment.
You know, people talk a lot about what would happen if humanity found out that it wasn't alone. Like aliens or vampires, I guess. How everything would change.
Julian murmured. I have not yet decided if I will reveal the existence of vampires to humanity once I assume the throne, Daemon said without any sort of hesitation. Julian's eyes widened.
You would reveal vampires' existence to humanity? I mean, I know I just said that everything would be different, but I should clarify that I don't believe that everything would be good.
Daemon grinned. You are worried that humans would imprison vampires and... Daemon's forehead furrowed as he read Julian's tumbling thoughts. We would be vivisected, and our blood would be tested. We would be lab animals and...
Yeah, because even though you guys are amazingly strong...
You guys? You are one of us.
Yes, of course, but what I'm trying to say is that we have a big weakness, namely that we can't bear sunlight and have to sleep during the day.
And humanity has many weapons, plus they are quite adaptable, meaning that they would likely find some kind of weapon involving UV rays that would destroy us, Daemon murmured. He looked thoughtful, but he didn't look like he was completely putting off the idea of revealing their existence to the world out of his head. These are all good points. I will consider them, but I am not one who likes to remain in the shadows forever. Humanity and vampires were at one time quite aligned. They could be so again.
You remember how I told you that we weren't really into kings in America? But I think that's actually true all around the world. Old monarchies and stuff like that, well, they don't really rule anything anymore. They're more there to be figureheads.
Julian struggled to explain this point.
What I'm trying to say is that most people have been born with the idea that they can be a king in their own life, and that they don't want to worship anyone else. Well, other than celebrities, but that's different. So going back to a time where people are eager to bend a knee to a king, well, I don't know if that would ever happen again.
Daemon smiled. Would you have thought that Balthazar would want to take a knee at any point? Julian's mouth opened and shut.
You have a point. But then again, he's always sort of been looking for a father figure, I think, since Roan ended up being such a bastard to him. You're like, well, a substitute dad or master or something.
Unlike you, my dear fledgling, who are so independent, Daemon said and kissed his nose. Julian's nose scrunched up as he grinned at the vampire king.
Would you really want me to be all clingy and needy?
He then thought of the fact that he grew itchy every time that Daemon left the room. So maybe he was a little clingy and needy, but he didn't want to worship the man. Well, maybe a little, but not that much. I adore you as you are, Daemon answered simply, which really didn't answer anything at all. Julian's fangs started to ache, and he was looking at Daemon's vast expanse of golden skin again. How could he already be feeling hungry again? He could imagine sinking his fangs into that velvety flesh once more, and then the hot gush of blood filling his mouth. Just a day ago, that would have sounded disgusting to him. He certainly would not have been aroused at the thought.
Aroused again.
Yes, again, my beautiful fledgling, Daemon murmured, and I could not be more pleased.
But you need to feed first,
Julian said firmly.
Before I feed again.
How lucky we are, then, that I am going to be fed now, Daemon said.
But we have to get an acolyte or two in here, and...
There was a soft knock on the outer door, causing Julian to stop in mid-sentence.
You knew they were coming.
I could hear them coming. Daemon grinned.
I was too busy listening to your heart,
Julian admitted. Daemon slipped out from under him, which had Julian grumbling. I will be back. Just stay where you are, my fledgling. Rest. I assure you that our night will soon get more active. Join us next time for episode 59. Keep your happiness. The Everdark podcast by Ex Aratare is performed by Edward Fox, Adam Riley, Jay Thillis, Bruno Devant, Kelly Michaels, and Hannah Hart, with Liz Gentle as Seer. Edited by Matthew Prince, continuity by Adrielle Wiggins. Everdark is produced by Wraith Rain Publishing in association with Her Grace Reed Studios. Copyright 2022 by Wraith Rain Publishing. My dearest acolytes, I regret to inform you that this podcast has been edited to conform to this platform's rules and regulations. Obviously, sexy vampire interludes are not appreciated by these plebeians. This episode has been cut to be acceptable to audiences of all ages. Not to worry. If you are interested in hearing the full episode with all the steamy parts included, you can purchase a monthly membership at wraithrain.com. Not ready to commit to a monthly membership? Then please visit the shop at wraithrain.com, where the full episodes are available for sale in audiobook format.